there, I'm Lance.
I'm Sam.
And we are Love to Hate.
And today we're taking a look at Herbaceous Pocket Edition by Pencil First Games.
You may be familiar with Herbaceous. Well, this is the Pocket Edition of the game. It's the same exact game except a miniature pocket-sized version of it. This is meant to be taken on the go, to play while you're traveling, which in fact we did do that. And it's a game for 1 to 4 players in which you are trying to decide whether you should place one card into your private garden or in the community garden, and having to place your second card in whichever one you didn't place the first time. And then you want to collect sets of cards at the right time, trying to decide when other players are going to do so and beating them to it first. Let's take a look at this down below, then we'll come back and share our thoughts on this one. Alright, so here's Herbaceous Pocket Edition. Let me show this game to you all. This is a very simple game in which you are going to be competing against up to 3 other players, trying to place cards strategically either in your own private garden, scoring for these cards right here, or placing a card in the middle of the playing area, which is the community garden. And so how a turn works in this game, you are simply going to flip over a card and decide whether you will leave it here in the middle, the community garden, or putting it below this little marker right here. And that would indicate that that card is going into your private garden that only you are able to play off of. As you could guess, the community garden is open to all the players. Now, there are going to be 7 different types of basic herb cards that look all sorts of different ways, and there are going to be 3 additional types that are going to have values on them. We'll come back to what those mean here in just a second. After you decide whether you're going to leave this card in the middle or put it in your private garden, you will then flip over the next card and it will automatically go in the space that you didn't choose on the first card. So if I left this card here in the community garden, then this card has to come down here into my private garden. Later on, as the turns progress and more cards are in the community and in my private garden, at the beginning of my turn I will have the choice to plot. And what that means is that I can take any number of cards from the private garden and any number of a set of cards from the community. And so I can combine that to score one of these cards. And you can see here what the types of things you're trying to get on these cards are. Everybody has the same 4, by the way. And so in this one, you are wanting all of the same type. And so any of those 7 types, or even any of these 3 right here, but you want to try to get as many of the same as you can, and you can see the value there that you will get. On this card right here, you want as many pairs. So you can see that this symbol right here says pairs that aren't the same. And so if you can get 1 pair, then you're only going to get 4 points. But if you can get 2 pairs, you'll get 8, 3 pairs, you'll get 12, so on and so forth. And the third type is that you are trying to get all the different cards. And so you can see how many points you get there if you get all different cards. And then the last one is a little different. This one, you are simply trying to get the special herbs, the ones with the values on them, and they come in 1s, 2s, and 3s. And you're just trying to get up to 3 to put under this card. And if you can get 3, any 3 of those ones that have numbers on them, then you are going to get not only 6 points, but you will also get the points on the cards themselves. And special tidbit, if you are able to get a 1, a 2, and a 3, and you're the first player to do so, you get the biscuit, and the biscuit is worth extra points at the end of the game. When you score a plot, you are going to take those cards that you are using for that plot, you will put them underneath the card that you are scoring, and you will flip that card over to indicate that you've scored it, and you are not able to score it again for the rest of the game. And you are trying to score all 4 of these before the deck runs out. You can only score 1 card per turn, so you do need to be strategic and keep that in mind as to when you are scoring these. And that community garden, as I mentioned, is shared by all players, and so the herbs that you might be wanting to contribute to your own private garden to score one of these cards might be taken from you before you get your opportunity if you wait too long. At the end of the game, you're going to score up all of your cards. You're going to see who has the most, and that's going to be your winner. You do also get some extra reference cards to show you how to set up. You do remove some cards at the beginning of the game, by the way, depending on how many players there are. This is the Pocket Edition, so there are some special things here if you want a full-size rule book. You also have a solo variant in which you are going to be playing, trying to get a certain amount of points, matching yourself on this score chart right here. You do have some reference cards, and there is, at least in my copy that was sent to me, there is a mini expansion, a flavor pack, in which you have 3 special cards. I will leave you to discover what those are all about. And that is what you get in Herbaceous Pocket Edition. Let's go back up top and we'll share our thoughts on this one. And we're back, and now we're going to share our thoughts on Herbaceous Pocket Edition. So Sam, this is a, as we've said, Pocket Edition. It's a small, tiny little game. First impressions, what'd you think of it?
Oh, it's interesting. We have don't have many games with a herb theme, if any.
I don't think we do.
So the cards are super tiny. It's actually, once you get them all out, it makes a pretty big, playing area. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely one that is surprisingly a bigger footprint than maybe what the box would indicate. That being said, if you've ever played the standard edition of Herbaceous, that's obviously going to take up more size than the pocket version is, but it's still a smaller game. It's a very simple game, simple idea here. You draw one card, you decide if you're going to place it in your own garden or you're going to place it in the middle of the table. And then you take the second one and you do the opposite. So your thoughts as far as how that goes being a non-gamer?
I think you definitely need some strategy. I kind of went into this game without a real game plan, which I think we all did. But I think we played in a group before, and some people developed their strategies earlier than I did, and I came in dead last. I did not have what I needed. You really need a plan. You really need to pay attention to what's out in the middle, and what's coming up in your cards, and yeah, so it more strategic than I expected it to be, but it wasn't overwhelming. Like, I felt like I couldn't do well. I honestly, at the end, I was like, I kind of want to play again because I feel like I could do better next time.
Yeah, it's definitely a game that you just kind of get right into it, and it's such a simple concept that before you can realize it, you've made so many choices, and you find yourself in a bad spot.
Crap.
You're like, oh, darn it, what was I doing this whole entire time? It's a simple concept, so simple that it just kind of flows on through, and before you know it, the game may already be halfway over, 3/4 of the way over.
Yeah.
I know when we were playing it, the times we played through, that it always caught us by surprise when the deck was getting close to the end.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, I've got 2 turns left, and I still need to score 3 of my cards.
Yeah.
That seemed to happen quite a bit in this game. So it's a game that just goes by quick. The box here says 20 minutes. I think that's probably pretty accurate. You could probably even get it done in 15 minutes if you're just kind of moving along. Sam, let me ask you, fun factor wise, is this a fun game?
I mean, I had a really good time playing with the people that we played with. We played with, I would say, one other gamer, one other non-gamer.
Right.
If we're categorizing our friends. And it worked really well. We all had a good time playing it. The 4 of us have, a lot of kids, and so we enjoy games that are pretty quick. But it was enjoyable with the time that you're able to give it.
Yeah, I would agree. I think this is a great little filler game. It's one that if you have it in your mindset that this is a small game and it's going to take a small part of your night, or it's just one that you're going to get out and play during your lunch break, then it's perfect at doing just that. It's not meant to be the home run hitter of the night.
Yeah.
Not meant to be the one that you're going to put all your focus and energy into.
It's a good appetizer.
Right. It's a good icebreaker kind of game to get everybody in the mood for playing games. And so I think it's perfect at doing just that. Pencil First Games, they're really well at making these simple concept kind of games that are still really engaging and make you really have to sit there and think, am I making the best choices each turn? And so Herbaceous, the regular game, Pocket Edition, same way, is really good about doing that. So, let's get into our pros and cons on this. Sam, you as a non-gamer, you kind of look at things a little different than we gamers do. And so what were the things that you really enjoyed about Herbaceous Pocket Edition?
I mean, I enjoyed how small it is. It's easy to travel with. It's quick. It's a very simple, easy to understand game.
Okay.
And I like the strategy. It's not so simple that you're bored with it. It adds enough strategy to be entertained for those 15 to 20 minutes.
Okay, very well. Any cons?
Not really. I guess for some of the different herbs can kind of look confusing. I mean, that's nitpicking though, so I can't really think of many others.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think there were a couple of purple ones that looked very similar, and it takes you, a couple more seconds to have to look at the card to really differentiate. I think that, again, kind of going back to what your expectation is for a game, this is kind of a one-trick pony of placing a card here or placing a card there, and then you have to do the opposite on the next card. And if that's something that you're not really cool with, if that doesn't really seem to kind of catch you, then this may not be the game for you, because that's really what this game is all about. That plus the aspect of the timing of when you're going to score your sets. So, plus I would also maybe throw out there that if you're somebody who's, I don't like any luck in my games, I want to be able to control everything, there is a lot of luck in terms of what you'd get from the deck, because somebody can just get every card that they need, whereas somebody else might not get any card that they ever need the entire game. And so there is that aspect to this as well. So, all right, so Sam, let's get to our scale of 1 to 10, love to hate. What do you give Herbaceous Pocket Edition?
I enjoyed it. It's a nice little travel game. I would probably give it somewhere about a 7.6.
Wow, okay, 7.6. That's pretty high, pretty high. I'm definitely lower than that. I was kind of thinking maybe around the 6.7 range for me, as this is one that I think is a perfect, like you said, travel game. It's one that the kids can probably really get a hold of and play. It's ages 8 and up, and so I think that's one that we could try out on one of our road trips or whatever. Is it one that's really going to captivate me and bring me in and make me go, wow, that's a really cool experience? Not quite. I think it's a pretty cool experience, but I don't know that it's one that just knocks it out of the park for me. So, but that's Herbaceous Pocket Edition, one that you would maybe recommend playing with non-gamers?
Yeah, I think it's great.
Okay, there you go. Herbaceous Pocket Edition from Pencil First Games. Check it out.
Make sure to like and subscribe and push that bell button so you get notifications of all our new content.
I'm Lance.
I'm Sam.
And we are Love to Hate, where we try to bridge the gap between gamers and non-gamers. We'll catch you next time.